when Brad's closing distance with his striking, as I said, he's a bit more paced. He's not quite as aggressive with his flurries. But it is worth noting, he's a Canadian Golden Gloves boxing champion, so he's got some hands on him. He's also a black belt in Shotokan Karate. And one thing I don't want to overlook are the wins that he got when he was on the Ultimate Fighter 27, because they get better and better as the weeks go on. He has a majority decision over Kyler Phillips, and then a third-round rear naked choke over Bryce Mitchell. Now, they are two names that you're going to know very well because they are two rising stars in the world of mixed martial arts. Brad is a very calculated, very methodical individual, and sometimes I think that does hold him back because it makes him overanalyze circumstances where, someone like Hamza Kooheji is not going to be thinking, he's going to be working, he's going to be throwing. But if Katona is able to slow this fight down and get it into his range, that's when his skills and his physical prowess come into play. His striking is a lot more paced, but he does like to push his opponents back against the fence, so he doesn't have a lot of distance to cover when he decides to level change. Heavy pressure on the lead foot, and what you'll see a lot of the time is he has these nice, he dips down and he sweeps with an overhand right and a left hook. You see how he keeps tempting and feinting his opponent in. He's trying to draw the attack of his opponent. You'll see him kind of feint hard on that lead leg, and what you'll see is his opponent's kind of posturing that counter hook. This is what Brad's looking for when he's using these feints. And he'll be doing this over and over again against Kooheji. And if Kooheji keeps swinging every time Brad Katona feints, then that's going to make the takedown attempts much easier for Katona. And what you find in his fights is, as he uses these feints, it tends to draw the attack of his opponent, so he gets a read on what their plan is. And then when he decides he's going to close distance, he sets it up with what looks like strikes. I mean, look at this. He likes this big sweeping left hook, but cuts him off straight away. And then look how he loops it. I just love that left hook that he throws, because it's not a 2-3 in that same pace that you see most people throw. He dips and he throws over with the right hand, but because he's low, there's a moment where his opponent is considering a level change. He's considering takedown defense, and as his hands come down, that's when he sweeps across with that big left hook. It's a really good combination to work in amongst his takedowns because of that dip that he uses. You'll see it. Look, there's the dip. He's slipping to the inside. He's thrown over the top, but you can see the reaction of his opponent. He curls up, but he's also expecting a takedown to be defended here. You see how he drops his hands. He brings his elbows in because he's expecting to have to get underhooks and stop Katona taking him down. And in this moment, you're going to see Katona sweep across with a big left hook and catch him right on the side of the head. And you'll see this over and over again. So if Hamza finds himself backed up against the fence, trying to judge what Katona's going to do in that moment when he dips, whether the overhand rights come in, whether the sweeping lefts come in, or whether he's actually level changing, gives him three things to concentrate on. It's difficult to pick one to defend when you're not sure exactly which one's coming, which is why Brad Katona's game works so well when people are closed down. Once he gets people up against the fence, you can see this physical strength and condition that he's got, as well as a very good understanding of how to destabilize someone's base. Like right here, you can see he's leaning into the fence, into his opponent. He's driving that head pressure, and you can see him driving his head right into his opponent there. And what that does is it puts all of his opponent's weight on that back foot, and you can see that the lead leg, the left leg of his opponent, is just kind of drifting off the floor here. There's a bit of space underneath that heel. There's a lightness to that leg which can be exploited. And what you'll notice is that Katona just hooks and kicks it, chops it, and then drops straight down. See how he restabilizes his foot. Kick, and then replace that leg. So he's not landing in an awkward position. He's not being destabilized when he lands. Kick, hook, brings his foot out, and as his opponent lands, he lands in a very strong position where immediately you can see he's smashing into that knee shield that his opponent's got here, that little knee inside that might start to stifle his movement. Always thinking ahead, always analyzing the situations that he's in. Look at lovely work there. There's that sweeping left hook, and you're going to see it again in the second round as well. Like I said, it's very consistent for him, and if Katona's able to put Hamza up against the fence, then there's that sweeping left hook again. It's so difficult to judge what he's coming with because he dips low, and he throws hard over the top. Look how low he goes here. Very difficult to read what's going on, but he fires that right hand out. You can see his opponent goes to check with the hook, which goes way over his head, and then he comes up underneath the armpit and cracks him with the left hook. Just a really nice rhythm, a rhythm that's going to be difficult for Hamza if he does find himself being pressured against Katona. These little steps that he uses here, sometimes he has a habit of stepping across his center line. You see how his heels are in line there? Sometimes what you'll see as he steps is he brings this heel all the way across to the other side, so he's actually crossing his legs. And what we've seen in Hamza's fights is that he's very good at chopping into the legs of his opponent. Now, of course, we've got Southpaw v Orthodox, but anything that he can do to destabilize the base, whether it's kick into the inside leg to square him out or kick into the outside of the leg to disrupt his balance, that's something that Katona's got to be watching out for as he's closing his opponent down, because there is a tendency to cross his feet a little bit here. Same as what Frankie Edgar does against Jose Aldo, and he did pay for it with those low kicks. The focus here for Katona is to close his opponent down. Not recklessly, safely, but once he gets his hands on him, again, the physical strength shows through. And then he likes to stack, he likes to drive into his opponents. Again, talking about Frankie Edgar, it's the same kind of thing. Because what you see is there's an effort on his opponent's side to hold him off. As he's driving into his opponent here and his opponent's trying to push him away with his hips, look at the engagement of the lower back and the legs of his opponent here. See how he pushes him away with his legs? And Katona's weight is still driving forward, still driving into him. It's so difficult for his opponent to do anything when there's that weight already bearing down on him. And what Katona does really well is every time he's pushed away by his opponent, he drops back in with strikes. So he's utilizing that push-pull that his opponent's creating to then drop straight back into their guard with big shots. It's a really kind of mauling top game style. He's always trying to pass the guard. He's always trying to hammer some good shots in, but always conscious that he doesn't lose his base. You know, very, very secure in his base. Very difficult to roll, very difficult to sweep. So if I'm Kooheji coming into this, I'm expecting that Katona's going to try and push me against the fence. I'm expecting that he's going to try and confuse me with the overhand right and the left hook to the level change. So I need a few options. Now, of course, Kooheji's got good uppercuts and good hooks himself, but he can't be hanging out with him, backed up against the fence, because he might find himself defending takedowns, defending underhooks. He might even find himself on his back. But there are moments in his fights where I see a real dangerous individual off his back. If Katona finds himself on a wrestling defensive, if he is taken down, which may well happen, again, it's not safe to be working in top position and ignoring the threats of your opponent, because this is exactly what happens in this fight here, where Katona is able to recover a guillotine. Now, he doesn't land in a very favorable position here. What you'll see is his opponent goes for the outside hook, and he lands with kind of a rough wrap on the chin. You can see that he's got his left hand's kind of capped on his opponent's chin, but still not in an ideal position at all when he lands. But he's able to switch and move and adjust to a butterfly hook. You'll see here. So now he's got his butterfly guard back, and he's going to readjust and he's going to attack that guillotine again. See how he pushes the head to the side there. Left hand to the side of the head, pushes it to the side, and then sits and postures up to rewrap that chin with the opposite leg. With the opposite hand. And now this is where the butterfly hooks come into play. He clears those butterfly hooks, clamps on that neck, and then controls his opponent's body. And this is a really nice guillotine finish. And this could quite easily be an option for Katona if he finds himself under wrestling pressure. Beautiful guillotine there. Even as his opponent's trying to stack him up, you can see he's got control of the body with the guard. You can see he's wrapped around the neck as well. And what he's doing is he's cranking. He's driving down with the back of his tricep, driving his chest forward to put pressure into the underside of the neck of his opponent on that guillotine. Brad Katona's never been stopped. He's got 2 losses on his record. They're both decisions. The 2 losses on Kooheji's record, one is a TKO from a knee at about 24 seconds of the first round. The other one is a rear naked choke against Khalid Taha. So there is a vulnerability there of him getting caught, getting his neck tangled up. There are options here for Brad Katona to look to finish by submission. It's going to be very difficult because Kooheji is going to constantly be trying to circle to his back. But if I'm Katona, I'm keeping this in the back of my mind, because you don't want to be jumping on guillotines and giving up position. But if you find yourself constantly taken down, or if you're in a bit of a stagnant position where your opponent's waiting to finish a takedown, that's when you can start attacking next maybe instigate some kind of movement.